The team here at 4BC Mornings and myself drove out to Toowoomba at the request of some mums to go and have a chat to them. And these mums have alleged they were seriously mistreated whilst giving birth at Toowoomba maternity. Kerryanne Slachter, along with her husband Nathan, and little baby Ezra. My God, Ezra is the cutest little boy. They welcomed us into their home to tell their story. And just a warning, this interview contains sensitive content that some listeners might find distressing. Tell us about your story and what your experience at the Toowoomba Hospital's maternity ward was like.
It was not only traumatic, but it was just shocking, really. We came in through ambulance because Nathan wasn't able to drive me, and I was waiting for my doula to arrive to drive us to the hospital, but she didn't make it because she was coming from Brisbane. They wheeled me through the ambulance, through emergency, and even that was humiliating. There was people lined up down the corridor in beds just staring at me as I'm being wheeled down with almost nothing on. And so yeah, I arrived to the birthing suite. When I got in there was just so many people. I didn't realise till later on when I read my notes that there was 14 people in the room, but there was a lot, and there was quite a few just standing there looking at me. They started giving me medication because I told them I was early. And
you're at 7 weeks early.
7 weeks early, yeah. Just 33 weeks. They were arguing over the top of me, like just two staff members just standing next to me, either side, and just arguing.
Over about what?
As about the process that they were doing. What to do, about whether or not I was even in labour. I asked them for a good 20 minutes for some kind of pain relief. I said, just give me gas, just anything.
Yep.
I had excruciating back pain, and they wouldn't let me get off my back to alleviate it. And they tried to find his heart rate, they couldn't find it. They were going on about, fetal distress and all this stuff, and no explanation really of a lot. There was a little bit, but not much. And then the OB basically just kept badgering me about a vaginal exam, and I knew that I was going to give birth any minute. Basically, I was there,
So you didn't feel you needed it?
No, I knew that I was fully dilated. I'd waited that long just for the ambulance to get there, and waited long enough for someone to drive us there. So it's not like I just went into labour like that minute.
You made it clear that you didn't want that examination.
Yes, I said every single time until the last one, I said no.
So you pressured it. You feel you were pressured into it.
Absolutely, yeah. So once he was born, my doula arrived, which was terrible timing, but we spent probably a good 20 minutes begging them just so I could hold my son. And they were just saying awful things, telling me that he could die and he could be disabled. And
that must have been really stressful. First time mum.
Oh, it was very stressful, yes. I was already concerned, but I just believed that, if I've come to the hospital because I need to be looked after, I expect them to do everything, not just tell me he's going to die.
And it's meant, a place where you're meant to feel safe, right?
Yeah. So that was in the birthing suite. He was then removed from the room, taken to the special care unit. I didn't see him for at least another 9 hours. Apparently he was taken off oxygen an hour later, and I never got told. No one came and spoke to me. They were concerned about my blood pressure, so they didn't let me leave. But even when I asked the midwife, she, at one point she said to me, I don't know why she did a vaginal exam, it wasn't necessary. And that's when I believed, something's not right about this birth if they're doing things they didn't need to. Every day or so, the same OB kept asking me for examinations. I said, no, you're not. I don't want you anywhere near me.
Why?
To check everything, I guess. Even though there was no damage or anything, there was nothing substantial that happened at all. So I just avoided her basically as much as I could.
Yeah.
But when he was in nursery, he lost 13% of his birth weight because they were putting him on a strict feeding schedule. And I questioned them and I said, why are you feeding him on this schedule if he's getting hungry an hour earlier?
Yeah.
And they couldn't give me an answer. I asked them For a whole month that he was there, I kept asking them, please give me your policies. What's your hospital policies on premature infant feeding? And they, 1 minute, they don't have any. Next minute, they have them. Another day, another staff member says, oh, the portal isn't available today. I can't access it conveniently.
So they kept that information from you?
Yes. Still to this day, I don't know what policies they have.
Right.
I didn't get told a lot of things when I was there. I didn't get told how to get my baby out of his crib, out of his humidity crib. I didn't get told any processes. Even I was wanting to breastfeed, and I was being told by some staff, well, we're not going to support you because essentially he can't breastfeed until he's 37 weeks. And I said, well, where's the data that says that? Like, where are you getting this information from?
Yeah, what's it based on?
They could never tell me. Every time I rang Australian Breastfeeding Association, they said they're not being honest. They told me the hospital is lying to me because babies do not, at that gestation, do not get put on a 3-hour feeding schedule. It's feed on demand.
Yep. It's like all of the decision-making process has been taken out of your hands.
That's what it was, yeah. The first week, I felt like he wasn't my child. I felt like he belonged to the hospital.
Yeah.
And that's how they treated it. There was a moment on the Friday where I thought there was something wrong with him. It just didn't feel right to me. My gut was telling me something was wrong. And the support worker we had at the time, she offered Nathan to actually call Ryan's rule. And when she did, they refused. They said there's not enough evidence. Can't. That's what they told us, not enough evidence. So I was losing at that point. Come Saturday morning, so I'd been discharged Friday and came back Saturday morning, and the paediatrician who was there when he was delivered, he had finally come back on after being off all week, and he came to me and he said, oh, we're worried about his weight loss. And I said, now you're worried about his weight loss? After I've talked every day about this all week? And they said, oh, we need to put Fortify in his milk. And I said, no, just feed him when he's hungry.
Yeah.
I went and spoke to ABA and they agreed with me. They said, no, he needs to be on a on-demand feed. And in the end, I said, I do not consent to the Fortify in his milk. And I said, I refuse this treatment. I said to them, you have to feed him on demand every 2.5 hours, I said. Feed him every 2.5 hours. He tried to convince me that he was going to go downhill by feeding more regularly. He said he wasn't going to put on, he said, I guarantee you he won't put on weight.
And did he?
Yeah. In 24 hours, he gained 90 grams and he's never stopped.
You're giving the experts, the doctors, the advice?
Yes.
Was there an incident with heating lamps in special care unit?
So, I don't remember which day exactly, but I came back to the nursery one morning and there was one particular nurse who was doing his overnight observations and things, and she said to me, I almost cooked him overnight. And that's the word what she said. I almost cooked him overnight. And while I understood what she was saying, she wasn't trying to be nasty, and I understand that. But for someone who's in
she was being flippant.
Yeah, such a vulnerable situation.
And you are so vulnerable. You're already stressed.
I already don't trust these people.
Yeah.
Like, this is after everything's already happened. I already, you know, I mean, I had nightmares at night about my baby. I'd wake up and I couldn't find him in the bed and I was panicking. I had terrible nightmares. And so, to hear that from the person who's meant to be looking after him, and then when they did their nurses' rounds and she handed over to the other nurses, she repeated it. She said, oh, I almost cooked him. And no one batted an eyelid. And I thought, this is right in front of me twice, in front of a mother who's been through so much.
And did you get an explanation as to, obviously, the lamps were turned up too high?
Yeah, they were too hot, basically.
So you're in the process of making the formal complaint. Have you been stopped from making a formal complaint?
So the only thing I have done is I was encouraged by MCN to do a police report. First of all, it was rejected by one officer because they do not believe that assault can occur during a medical intervention or medical procedure. He said that to me over the phone. He sent me an email.
Yeah, no.
And so MCN was like, no, that's not true. And then they assigned another officer to the case who has said the same thing to me, and he's rocked up to my house multiple times, unannounced. Basically, the only thing they've said to me is that they have completed the investigation without taking any statements, without taking my side of the story, other than the complaint that MCN wrote for me. But supposedly they've spoken to the hospital and corroborated the medical notes and said that no wrongdoing occurred.
So are you still at I'm shocked by this. Are you still at a situation where you can't lodge a formal police complaint, no one will take your word?
So essentially the police officer turned up to my house, sat down with me, treated me like I was some silly little schoolgirl that didn't understand what birth was. Basically, he just said, well, it was a MET call, and explained what that was, like I didn't know. It was an emergency situation. I said to him, well, are you saying that it doesn't matter whether I consent or not during a medical procedure or during an emergency situation? And he said, well, you did consent. I said, that was after being coerced, and then I withdrew my consent. And on top of that, I've since requested my medical notes, and there are multiple redactions in it. And I'm still to this day trying to get the full record. I don't know what's going on.
I'm sure everyone listening to this is getting angry.
Yeah.
Like I can only apologise to you that this is happening.
Yeah. I mean, getting my own records, I've requested an internal internal review of my notes so I can get the redacted information, and they have denied it.
What would you say to other mums-to-be who are thinking about going to the maternity ward at the Toowoomba Hospital? What's your piece of advice to them?
Just educate yourself. Just know everything there is to know about physiological birth and birth in general. Know your rights. Get legal advice if you have to. I had a doula and she was amazing. She has worked in a lot of hospitals. She had a lot of experience. She was the reason why I got advocacy involved, because she passed them on to me. Maybe find someone like that that can be your witness and your voice if you can't speak up.